Let's return now to our coverage of the Cape Town rail accident as we talk to our reporter Athi Mtongana, who was on the scene a little earlier. Athi, good afternoon to you. So first up, the point of contention now, from what I can understand, seems to be whether the boom gates at the railway crossing were in fact working. What have you been able to discern?
Well, quite clear from the residents, Jeremy, that those boom gates are very, very faulty. Remember, this is not the first time that an incident like this happens at that very same spot, Jeremy. I mean, 8 years ago, earlier on, I spoke to my colleague Leanne Jansen, who had covered a similar incident on that very spot, which involved some school pupils who were affected by that accident that happened there. This morning, Jeremy, that scene almost the same as that of 8 years ago, where those school pupils were involved in an accident. I must mention, Jeremy, that we were able to speak to the family members of some of the men involved in that accident. We understand that it was workers that were on their way to work. So we were able to speak to a brother-in-law of one of the men who were involved in the accident. And I might just describe to you, Jeremy, that when the father and the brother-in-law arrived at the scene this morning, they were very traumatized. The father could barely stand, but he was able to give us the name of his son as well as the name of his son-in-law. It was a 29-year-old and a 23-year-old, to be specific in terms of age. So those young men were making their way to work. The brother-in-law earlier on saying to us that they normally get picked up by that bakkie to work at around 4 in the morning. The accident happened at 6 a.m. So they're very distraught at this point in time, Jeremy. They're trying to find ways in which to even wrap their heads around this incident. Residents, they're also saying very angry that, that nothing or not much being done to make sure that incidents of this nature don't happen. Residents, they're arguing with Metro Rail, saying that those boom gates are in fact very faulty. One resident there saying to me he was almost involved in something very similar last night, and saying that when he was approaching the railway, Jeremy, that boom gate went open and immediately went down just as the train was approaching that spot where cars are supposed to pass. So it was just a split second, so he missed the train by a split second, and he's actually saying he's not shocked at the fact that other people were involved in an accident because of how those boom gates are so dysfunctional in their view. And also Metro Rail saying that, their technicians confirmed to them that those railways do work, but then you have residents there saying they actually don't.
Well, that's the great concern this lunchtime, because Metro Rail has a completely different view. I'm quoting a representative saying it was human error. There are booms and a camera, but the bakkie ignored the signals. It was not their time to cross. That is in direct contradiction to what residents in the vicinity are saying.
Very contradictory, Jeremy, and in fact they told us that bakkie was actually following a minibus taxi which was zigzagging and just trying to make its way across that railway. Some residents saying that minibus was actually jumped a red robot there, and that bakkie then following behind it, and then it got stuck there. But all of those answers, Jeremy, should be answered by an investigation that will be conducted by the police. But residents, they're saying they want the name of the investigating officer so they can actually know exactly what happened, how it happened. They are willing to stand in court to witness about some of the accidents that have been happening there. It's been a number of years, Jeremy, and little to nothing has been done to prevent a similar incident. I mean, there are many other measures that they say as residents that authorities could take to avoid a similar incident. They are not really trusting Metro Rail at this point. They're to us saying that they will be looking at practical measures to make sure that incidents like this don't happen again.
Athi, we also know that aside from the police investigation, the Railway Safety Regulator will be probing this as well. They have dispatched inspectors to the scene. At this stage, though, probably too early to determine an official cause of the accident, but any sense of how long their inspection is going to take place?
Well, I can tell you now, Jeremy, that the scene has been cleared. The bakkie has been taken away. The train is still standing there, though, but the scene right now is quite clear. Residents gathered there to watch as authorities cleared the site. A very somber Blackheath there, Jeremy. Residents very saddened to see what happened and, you know, seeing flashbacks of incidents that happened many years ago. They even got to a point where they held a prayer meeting, just asking at least God's intervention at this stage, saying that authorities have failed.
Athi Mtongana in Cape Town, thank you very much.